everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia, and today I am finally here with my review of the Australian production of Hamilton. It has been just over a month since I first saw the show, and why have I waited this long? I'm glad you asked. A couple of reasons. Reason number one, it's still kind of surreal. I've seen the show 3 times and finally it has really sunk in that yes, I have seen Hamilton at the theatre. But even after the second show I went to, which was exactly 3 weeks ago, as of the day I'm filming this, it was still very surreal. Second reason is because the first 2 shows I was sitting in the stalls, and when I went this past Sunday I was sitting in the dress circle. So I wanted to talk about that and the different angles. This show is amazing. As I said, I've seen it 3 times and it only gets better. It only gets better each time. It's not fair to compare productions, especially if you're like me and the only other production you've seen is the Disney Plus movie. But with that said, and this isn't really about this production, it's more about the movie. Having seen it at the theatre, I think the movie did a very good job. I think the movie did a very good job and was edited in a way that shows you the most important parts of any given scene. Of course, there's stuff you will not see in the movie that you can obviously see at the theatre, but having seen it at the theatre, they did a very good job editing the movie, I think. So now I'm just going to talk about each of the actors really quickly individually and my favourite things about them, and I apologise in advance for any names I get wrong, because everyone is incredible. But let's start with musical's nucleus himself, Jason Arrow as Alexander Hamilton. He only gets better. I loved him more every time. He was the one cast member I was kind of hesitant about when I first saw the cast announcement video. Hesitant's not even the right word. It was just more, the second I saw everybody on the cast announcement video, I knew perfect. I know they're going to be perfect. With Jason, it was kind of a, I'm sure he's going to be perfect. That was my kind of immediate thought. It's hard to explain. But none of that matters because I was surprised and he blew me away. He actually wears a wig when he does the show, which I thought was kind of interesting, but I really do like it. Even in Act 2, when stuff got a bit more serious, he had sort of this light-hearted edge to him that I really enjoyed. And his voice is beautiful. It's better than Lynn's. Has this man ever recorded anything else because I need more of his voice in my life? And it was as Burr, he had a very sort of abrupt and straightforward approach to the role. Despite Burr's whole talk less, smile more, don't let them know what you're against or what you're for thing, Lyndon Burr was very much what you see is what you get. I thought I absolutely loved the bit in Non-Stop where Alexander comes to Burr's house and goes, "You're a better lawyer than me." And Lyndon just went, "Okay." Chloe Zhao as Eliza, she was the only member of the company that I had heard of before. And from the very beginning, she was my first pick to play Eliza. So I knew she would be wonderful. And she was. She has an absolutely beautiful voice, and when she sings, that would be enough. I cry. And I am in love with her hair in Act 2. The messy plait she's going on is just awesome. So, Akina Edmonds as Angelica. It took me a bit of time to get used to her voice. Her voice is objectively wonderful, but it's not really the type of voice that I would choose to listen to. I've talked about Mary Martin on this channel before and how I don't really like her voice as a voice, but it is a good voice. And with Akina, it was kind of the same. It took me seeing the show more than once to really love and fully appreciate her voice. But voice aside, she is awesome as Angelica. She just looks like Angelica should look, with that badass attitude. Brent Hill as King George was hilarious. My favourite bit would have to be, I know him. He didn't just say, "What was it, 85? He went, "What was it? Oh good God, 85. So he had a little bit of an extra thing in that line. It's full on skipping across the stage at the end of that song. So moving on to Washington, the main actor playing Washington is Matu Ngparo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And he was playing the role for the first 2 times I saw it. But on Sunday night I had Winston, and not gonna lie, I think I prefer Winston. They were both absolutely wonderful and had the commanding stage presence that Washington needs. So, let's move on to the double cast roles. So I'll start off with Marty Alex as John Lawrence and Philip. Now, I believe Marty Alex uses they, them as pronouns, which is what I'm going to be using, but correct me if I'm wrong and if I mess up. They were awesome. Marty is so small and so youthful looking that I had no problem whatsoever buying that Philip was 9 years old when we first meet him in Take a Break. Right after Philip had finished his little rap, Marty just launched themselves straight into Jason's arms, and Jason picked them up clean off the ground. It was a right in the air, legs round the waist hug you might give a 9-year-old type hug, which was adorable. And even with that, with Marty being totally perfect and believable as 9-year-old Philip, they were also completely believable as 19-year-old Philip and Lawrence. Honestly, given that Philip's 9 when we first meet him, and it's the same actor who plays him when he's 19, you don't like have a little kid doing the role, you don't have somebody playing young Philip. You could almost say it's like 3 roles that that actor has to play. And Marty pulled all 3 of them off. Chaka Cook as Hercules Mulligan and James Madison was incredible. I would imagine that has to be the hardest double cast role because they are so different. So if you can pull off them both, then wow. And Chaka did just that. And something about Madison, I really liked the way he did Madison. I feel like the roles the actors play in Act 2 were more important to the events of Alexander Hamilton's life than the characters they play in Act 1. So, with that fact, and the fact that Peggy is and Peggy, let's talk about Alandra Eramaha. I apologise if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She was just adorable as Peggy, and then in Act 2 she pulled off Mariah's vulnerability perfectly. At the end of Say No to This, the actor playing James clicked his finger at her. It's like a go, we gotta go, come here kind of thing, and my heart just broke. Mariah really is the character I feel the most sorry for. Victory Nodwoke, again, I'm sorry, as Lafayette and Jefferson. Well, I absolutely love Lafayette as a character, but I just love Lafayette as a character, and the jumping around and rapping and everything for Guns and Ships is awesome. I think one of my favourite moments from him was at the very end in Who Lives Who Dies Who Tells Your Story. The way he said, "and I tried," was just hilarious. So that's it for the principals, but the ensemble was just as amazing. Hamilton does not work without the ensemble. Andy Blankenburger is a freaking genius with the choreography. The choreography tells the story in and of itself in the show. They're not simply dance moves that enhance the scene and make everything look cool. Just about everything has an underlining meaning to it. Like the bullet. In It's Quiet Uptown, where the ladies all lean forward and the guys have to pick them up and push them back, they're meant to be vomiting. I remember reading an interview with the editor of the movie, and he said, yeah, the ladies are meant to be vomiting in that scene. So every bit of the choreography in this show has a meaning to it. And none of that is possible without the ensemble. Just like I was able to see Winston on Sunday night, we had 4 swings in the ensemble. For those of you who don't know, the swings are basically understudies for the ensemble members. And on Sunday night there were 4 of them. 2 ladies and 2 guys. And then the second time I saw it, there was a swing as well. And it was wonderful to see each different actor's take on the role, even if the role is just an ensemble member. One little thing I really liked, and this was a bit of a difference from what you see on the film, I'm not comparing as a quality of acting or anything like that, this is just a little thing I thought was very interesting, and that is the ensemble member that plays Sally for the 2 lines in What Did I Miss? Now, I'm not going to talk about whether Jefferson's most famous slave being in the show as little more than a name drop is a good or a bad thing. Not because it doesn't warrant discussion, it absolutely does. I'm just not the person to talk about it. But if you watch the movie, you'll notice that Ariana DeBose plays Sally for those 2 sentences, but she's also the Bullet, and I never really got that. She was the one to play Sally. And in our production, it was not the Bullet who played Sally. It was a different lady in the ensemble who played Sally for those 2 sentences. And I really like that fact. I really like that it wasn't the Bullet taking 2 sentences off from being the Bullet. I did guess who the Bullet was. First thing I did when I saw the rehearsal photos was compare those scenes to the bits in the movie to work out who was playing the Bullet. And I was right. It's Jamie Dermothoud. And she's amazing. Regarding the view, as I said, I've seen it from both the stalls and the dress circle. I personally prefer the stalls by a lot. And it's not simply because in the stalls you've got a more straight on view and you're more likely to see the actors' reactions and expressions, but being in the dress circle always makes me a little anxious. Sometimes I get a bit of a I could fall over and crack my head feeling when I'm sitting in the dress circle. So I'm not the biggest fan of it as a thing. But with that said, I am very, very glad I have seen the show from the dress circle, because you get to see a lot more of the stage and particularly the lighting. And that is stuff you can't possibly see from the stalls. So this is where I was sitting the first time I saw the show. This is where I was sitting for the second show. And this was where I was sitting in the dress circle on Sunday night. The first view is probably the worst, but it's still a great view. And here's a picture of the cast my friend took at the curtain call. So in conclusion, go see this show. It's playing through November, so you've got time, I'm sure. If you're not in New South Wales, go see this show. I'm pretty sure it said it would be exclusive to Sydney, but even when shows say that, if the show's big enough and successful enough, they usually renege on that and go to other cities. Hamilton is definitely big enough for that to happen, and I'm 99% sure that after it finishes in Sydney, whenever that is, it will go to at least Melbourne. So if you're not in New South Wales, go see the show. Whether you want to brave a plane flight or wait for it to come to wherever you are, go see it. This show has something for everyone. Apparently, there are people in this world who don't like Hamilton. I don't quite get it, but whatever. But I think you'd have to be very close-minded to not get something out of the show, or to understand and acknowledge its cultural importance and the impact it's had, and why it's successful. And that's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know. Have you seen Hamilton at the theatre? Whether you're down here and you've seen it in Sydney, or whether you're in another country and saw it over there. And of course, what was your favourite part? Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long for a while!